dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yup, what's good, original crew? It's your boy DJ New Kid, your girl.
It's here, Nicole.
We're back on the channel with another
Kid and C original.
She's like, I'm just welcome back to the channel, man. We got another Mr. Ballen for y'all today. Oh, this is more the recent one. I know we be going back, you know what I'm saying? But this is the more recent one. We got this shopper got caught doing something evil. So with that being said, man, we ain't finna hold y'all, man. We're gonna go ahead and jump right into it, man. It's a 30-minute video, so hey, this might be an hour-long video for us. So with that being said, make sure you check out the links in the description box.
Down below.
You already know where to go, man. If you want to first support, all you gotta do is check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button, thumbs it up, smack it on the booty, and make it thing go jiggle. Also, before you comment, feel free to watch the entire video to hear our final thoughts.
Please watch the entire video.
Also, if you're someone who don't like people who pause, talk, or commentate while watching a video, link to the original video is in the description. You can always just go watch the original video without watching it with us.
And again, please watch the entire video before commenting.
Because we will comment and
throughout before we get all the information, then we do a recap at the end. So
exactly.
Please, yeah.
So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's check it out. Let's see what it's about.
Yep.
Thank you.
In 2021, police in Salt Lake City, Utah, discovered a strange video on someone's phone. Now, this video, which at first seems kind of playful, is one of the most disturbing and distressing videos when you realize what it's about. Fair warning, we're going to play a portion of that video in today's episode towards the end of the episode. And also, fair warning, the ending to this story is just totally heartbreaking and brutal. So viewer discretion is advised. But before we get into today's story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once or twice every week. So if that's of interest to you, please move in to the room directly above the Like Buttons apartment and immediately begin hosting tap dancing classes in your apartment. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story. On January 28, 1976, Daniel Halseth was born in a small town in Oregon called Estacada, which is located about 30 miles southeast of Portland. Daniel's family owned a farm, and so from a young age, Daniel became accustomed to getting up super early and helping out with daily chores. This childhood experience on the farm instilled in Daniel a strong work ethic, and it also taught Daniel to really appreciate family, because the family he had grown up in spent all their time together, and they all struggled and worked together every day to make ends meet. In high school, Daniel really began to blossom. He had this wonderful energy and huge radiant smile that drew people to him, and he was just one of those people that was just naturally gifted at everything he did, and it seemed totally effortless. During his high school years, he picked up playing the piano as well as the drums, and his classmates affectionately nicknamed him Drummer Dan. Daniel was also amazing with anything to do with computers or technology, and Daniel was just very handsome and very athletic and fit, and so he was really the guy that everybody wanted to be. But despite having all of these things going for him, Daniel was dealt a major blow in 1994 when he was in his junior year of high school. That year, his father, who he was quite close with, died unexpectedly from a brain aneurysm. This was a crushing blow for a young man that still very much leaned on his father for guidance and support. But Daniel, like the rest of his family, found a way to just keep on going despite this immense heartbreak. In 1995, so a year after his father's death, Daniel would graduate high school and he would head to Salem, Oregon, where he would go to school and earn his bachelor's degree in music. And then he would stick around in Salem at another university and he would earn his master's in business. And it was during those years that he was in Salem that Daniel would meet a young woman named Elizabeth Schwarak, who had grown up in Salem. She, like Daniel, was incredibly hardworking and was just naturally good at everything she tried. She was also a model, and so when she and Daniel began dating, they genuinely looked like this beautiful Hollywood couple. In 2001, which was shortly after Daniel had earned his master's degree, he and Elizabeth got married. 5 years later, the couple, who now were the proud parents of 3 young children, 2 girls and a boy, they moved to Las Vegas because Daniel had found work there. Daniel had founded this computer IT company because he was so skilled with computers, and it was really starting to thrive, and many of his clients were in or around Las Vegas. But just a few years after getting settled in Las Vegas, it would be Elizabeth's career ambitions that would take center stage in the family. Elizabeth had always wanted to get into politics, and in 2010, she decided she would run for a state Senate seat in Nevada. But in order to do that, she would need to campaign really aggressively, which would mean she'd be gone a lot of the time. And so Daniel, who was working full-time with this computer company, he would need to keep doing that because that paid the bills. But he would also have to become the primary parent for their 3 children. And so when she approached Daniel and said, I really want to do this, but it requires a lot out of you. Are you willing to do this? Daniel was completely supportive and actually really excited at the idea. He had no problems whatsoever. And so very soon, Elizabeth would be out on the road campaigning and trying to win the state Senate seat, and Daniel would be home goofing around with the kids and taking them hiking and going to playgrounds and parks. And then after he would put the kids to bed at night, he would stay up super late and run his computer business out of their dining room.
It just seems like too much of like the perfect family. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You got a husband, wife, you got 3 kids, successful business. Now she wants to get, that's kind of like a Disney Channel storybook style family, like what we grew up on, like what is the ideal of the American dream. Like, You know what I'm saying? Isn't it like this on this? It's like, but you never know what's really going on behind someone's closed doors. You never know. But it's just amazing how like perfect things seem, you know?
All this additional hard work and sacrifice that Daniel was making for his wife paid off when later that year, on November 2nd, Elizabeth, who had run this incredible campaign that was built on family values and wholesomeness and morality, she would win the state Senate seat, which shocked the state of Nevada. And even more impressive, she would become the youngest woman to ever be elected to Nevada legislature at just 27 years old. So it was clear to everyone in Nevada and also outside of Nevada that Elizabeth was destined for greatness. She was going to be the next big political superstar. And anyone who was close to the Halseth family knew Daniel was her #1 cheerleader. He was so proud of her. But soon, the Halseth's perfect life would come crumbling down. It was not long after Elizabeth had won her election that Daniel began to notice she was becoming suspiciously close with another man named Tiger Helgelian, who was a former golf pro and fellow rising political star. After noticing his wife constantly texting with Tiger, Daniel would actually reach out to Tiger directly and beg him to stop messaging his wife and to just leave his family alone. But the texting and the calling and the interactions between those two would not stop. And then finally, in October of 2011, so less than a year into Elizabeth's first term as a state senator, Daniel would find out that his wife and Tiger had been away together alone on this long extended work trip. And so Daniel realized that almost certainly his wife was having an affair. And so when his wife came home from this trip and she was unpacking in their bedroom, Daniel walked into the room and he accused her of being unfaithful. And the argument that ensued got very heated, but it did not become physically violent. Basically, Daniel just screamed and yelled at Elizabeth, swearing at her and kind of losing his temper completely. But at some point, Elizabeth just said, "Daniel, stop." and Daniel would actually stop. And in fact, both Elizabeth and Daniel, when they recalled this night, would say as soon as she said stop, Daniel stopped yelling and he left the room. Over the next couple of days, Daniel and Elizabeth would go to therapy sessions at their church, indicating that they both were making a concerted effort to try to salvage their marriage. But on October 21st, 5 days after this big blow-up fight about the affair, Elizabeth would go to police and she would claim Daniel had touched her inappropriately during the fight they had over the affair. And so Daniel, much to his shock, was arrested and charged with something called open and gross lewdness, which is effectively unwanted touching of another person. This accusation is quite common, especially amongst people at bars who are drinking. There's lots of unwanted touching that can happen there. But interestingly, this particular charge is cited as being one of the more frequently falsely accused offenses because the police do not require any physical proof to actually arrest someone. Basically, people are, in theory, able to get other people arrested simply by claiming they inappropriately touched them.
But his wife. Why would you, get your husband who has his own career?
Like, why?
Like, why would you have him arrested?
It was 5 days after y'all had
the argument.
But my thing
going
is,
to therapy.
But y'all going to, you know what I'm saying? Or did you just
or were you so caught up in your side relationship?
From what he stated, it was recalled that nothing got violent. So why would you?
Too caught up? Are you too caught up with the other dude? And because that could be.
This was kind of like her way of let me find a way
to leave. Yeah.
Even if there is not a shred of proof. It's basically one person's word against the other. After being found guilty of open and gross lewdness, Daniel was sentenced to 6 months of probation, anger management, and he had to register as a sex offender. Shortly after he was found guilty, Daniel filed for divorce. Their divorce...
So, with that also, he can't have custody of the kids because he's a sex offender.
Because he's listed as a registered.
That is so jacked up. And a political power move. Because she has this new... Bro probably told her what to do.
It's definitely messed up. That's definitely messed up.
That's sad, sick, and everything.
As a sex offender. Shortly after he was found guilty, Daniel filed for divorce. Their divorce, which was heavily centered on who gets custody of their 3 kids, was very contentious, it was very bitter, and it was very public. Because Elizabeth was a state senator, she was in the public eye, and because her campaign that she had run on to get elected was built entirely on wholesomeness and family values and having good moral character, that when rumors started to fly that she had had this affair with Tiger Helgelien and that had blown up her family and her husband is being charged with open and gross lewdness, it was just so salacious that despite her denying that she ever had this affair and acting like she was in the right, she was still forced to resign from her state Senate seat in February of 2012. The divorce would finalize later that year, and most likely because of Daniel's new sex offender status from the open and gross lewdness charge, he was denied custody of the 3 children, despite the fact that for the last several years, he had been the everyday primary parent. So Elizabeth, she gets custody of all 3 kids, and she promptly leaves Nevada to go to Alaska with her 3 kids to live with Tiger Helgelien, the man she denied having an affair with.
Wow.
I knew it. That was her escape. She needed to take the kids with her because she was trying to keep her job, because her memo. So what's the best way for me to make sure I keep custody of the kids? To keep my image.
But in the end, anyway,
you still lost your job.
Yeah, was forced to this really. And this man will not be able to see his kids
because he is sex offender.
Because he's listed.
He can't have the kids in custody without her or a guardian or somebody else.
A supervised visitation or something like that. I don't even know how that even works. With a sex offender or whatever the case may be. Like that's messed up.
That's very, very, very low down. And it's very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
All because you want to be with.
Yeah.
Shortly after arriving in Alaska, she married Tiger Helgelien. Daniel was heartbroken. It was like his life had blown up in a matter of seconds. But most devastating of all was that his kids, who he called his three little angels, were now so far away from him, he couldn't even see them if he wanted to. But just like he had done back in 1994 when his father passed away, Daniel just found a way to keep on going despite this horrible pain he was feeling. Over the next few years, Daniel would pour himself into his computer business and really make that his full-time effort, and he would make every effort to see his children any chance he got. But because his relationship with his ex-wife Elizabeth was not good, it was really difficult to see his kids. Eventually, Daniel would meet another woman named Bogdana, and they would actually get married. And when that happened, it seemed like, in the eyes of Daniel's family, he was starting to kind of finally get his life back on track. Around this time, Daniel began sharing more and more of his life on his social media channels. And every post he made, and he made lots of them nearly every day, were so overwhelmingly positive and optimistic, and it really showcased his wonderful personality that was all about lifting up your fellow person and just being a good human being. And he also posted loads of videos of him goofing around with his three kids because he adored his kids. They were the most important thing to him by far. But despite having this very cheerful outward presence on social media, privately, Daniel was dealt yet another very difficult blow in 2019 when his marriage to Bogdana, his second wife, fell apart. And so once again, Daniel was all alone. His social media posts around the time of the second divorce remained positive and very optimistic for the most part, but anytime you saw an image of Daniel actually facing the camera, you could just see a distinct sadness in his eyes. But just as quickly as it seemed like once again Daniel's life was just going to crumble, something truly amazing happened for Daniel. Daniel's first ex-wife, Elizabeth, and their three kids decided to leave Alaska and come back to Nevada and resettle in Las Vegas. This was not because Elizabeth wanted to rekindle with Daniel. It was just because she and the kids liked living in Las Vegas and wanted to come back. And as soon as they were back, Daniel suddenly got to see his kids all the time. He was so excited and so happy. In fact, by late 2020, Daniel's youngest daughter, Sierra, who was 16, she had basically just moved in with Daniel, even though, legally speaking, she was not supposed to be doing that. And her mom, Elizabeth, was totally unhappy about it. But regardless, that was just how it was. She was living with Daniel. In August of that year, so around the time that Sierra had basically moved back in with Daniel decided to take his ex-wife, Elizabeth, back to court to see if he could get custody of Sierra, because Sierra was the only minor of their three children. She was still 16, and at that point, Sierra was already living with him. During the recorded video sessions between Daniel, Elizabeth, and the judge, Daniel would tell the judge that life in Elizabeth's home was totally toxic and not good for his children, and certainly not good for Sierra. Daniel would explain to the judge that Sierra was really struggling with some mental health issues, and what she needed right now was professional therapy, something he had already enrolled her in since she had moved back in with him. Daniel also presented to the judge a letter that he said Sierra wrote that basically backed up the idea that she is better off living with her father. Elizabeth would generally respond to all of these things that Daniel was saying by saying Daniel was a liar and that he was not fit to be a parent, and that letter that he claims Sierra wrote doesn't sound like her, insinuating that, the letter was forged. The judge, who at regular intervals would get very frustrated with both Daniel and Elizabeth, finally would just say, look, you got all sorts of issues between the two of you, and it's creating a horrible environment for your kids. And if you don't find a way to come to some sort of compromise, the people that are going to suffer are your kids, specifically Sierra. Finally, in early 2021, when Daniel and Elizabeth still had not come to terms, the judge just ordered that Daniel return Sierra to her mother's residence because, legally speaking, Sierra was supposed to be in her mother's care. And so begrudgingly, Daniel would take Sierra and he would bring her back to her mother's house and he would say, okay, go see your mother, and then he would drive off. But later that night, Sierra would sneak out of her mother's house and just run back to be with her dad. Needless to say, Daniel was not unhappy about that turn of events. The custody battle over Sierra continued to rage for the next several months, with Sierra opting to still remain at her father's place despite the court order, despite her mother pleading with her to come home. And then
it has to be a reason why she
wants to be with her father and not with her mom.
Yeah, it has to be a reason why. It has to be deeper, you know what I'm saying, just by, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then, like, they stated, like, the mom's household is toxic, or she feel like it's toxic. I don't know, like, what's actually going on in the household, or how she is, or, you know. And
a lot of times in these situations, the judge needs to actually have a conversation with the child. Or somebody needs to have an actual conversation with the child to get the child understanding. Because you have the mom saying something, you have the dad saying something.
Yeah, and it's already like that tension between them.
In this situation, the daughter is the middle person.
Yeah.
So you have one story. You can put her story to understand the story of the two. Mm-hmm. And to get a better picture of everything. Yeah. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I do feel like sometimes in a situation like this, they never truly care about the child's best interest. Because a lot of times the child will tell you who they feel is those their best interest. But a lot of times...
and why?
They feel, oh, this person is the better, you know?
Yeah.
At her father's place, despite the court order, despite her mother pleading with her to come home. And then, in April of 2021, something very odd happened. On the morning of April 8th, several $100s was withdrawn from Daniel's bank account from a few different ATMs around Las Vegas. This particular bank account was shared between Daniel and his second ex-wife, Bogdana. They just hadn't gotten around to relinquishing control to one or the other. And so these particular withdrawals were kind of uncharacteristic for Daniel or for Bogdana, and so they were flagged as potentially fraudulent, and so the bank sent notifications to both Daniel and Bogdana saying as much. And so Bogdana, she gets the messages that there's been these potentially fraudulent charges. She knows it wasn't her, and so she calls Daniel, but Daniel doesn't pick up, and so she texts Daniel. But again, silence from Daniel. Thinking this was a little bit odd, Bogdana reached out to Daniel's mother, Christine, knowing that Daniel and his mom spoke nearly every day. And so she filled the mother in about what was going on. And after getting all the information from Bogdana, Christine would try calling and texting Daniel, but still got nothing. And so she reached out to her granddaughter, Sierra. And so she calls Sierra. Sierra doesn't pick up. She texts Sierra asking to speak to Daniel, and Sierra doesn't get back right away, but eventually she responds to Christine, and the response just said, "His phone has been acting up, but he's okay. It should be fixed by tomorrow night. No worries." Now, Christine was relieved to read that her son and her granddaughter were just fine, but at the same time, there was just something odd about the fact that she could not get in touch with her son, and that Sierra was kind of acting a little bit cagey, not answering her phone, which was unlike her, and then sending a message that didn't quite sound like her. But either way, Christine just let it go and figured she would be in touch with her son over the next 24 hours. But the next day, by 10 a.m., when Christine and Bogdana had not heard or seen Daniel, Christine again reached out to her granddaughter, Sierra. She called her, but she didn't pick up. And so she texted Sierra, this time demanding that she put her father on the phone. But Sierra did not put her father on the phone. Instead, after a few minutes, Christine just got another text message that said something to the effect of, "My dad's in the shower, so he can't talk right now." Christine, at this point, it was like her radar was up, and she knew there was a real problem. She didn't know what it was, but there was a problem, and someone needed to go over to Daniel's house and make sure he and Sierra were okay.
That's what I was finna say. My thing is, do anybody has Elizabeth's phone number? That first ex-wife.
Sierra's mom.
Yeah, Sierra's mom. I would have been calling her too. Like, but I'm saying, do y'all have any type of relationship? Because I still feel as though, like, Daniel's mom should still have some type of relationship with her.
Because of the kids.
Because of the grandkids.
Yeah.
So, or...
But I guess it's kind of... But I guess it's kind of the fact the other two, they're like, I guess 18... Over 18, because it stated that she's the only minor, you know, so I can just contact them myself. I don't have to necessarily have, you know.
Well,
I mean, I get
out
it.
of respect.
I get that, but I'm saying they grown. Like, they grown. Like, if they over the age of 18, I can just call them directly if I want to talk to them. I don't have to. But I get what you're saying. But anyway, but the first message alone would have been like, well, you know I want to speak to your dad. Go take him the phone. Tell him to call me.
I was thinking that too.
Or let me call you and you put him on the phone. You know what I'm saying?
That too.
Even the text message was kind of like, it was a push off. Like, I'm trying to, you know, reassure somebody he's okay. So don't worry. So don't
worry too much.
Don't worry too much. Don't keep calling or texting. He's fine. Like, you know, because that, you know, somebody that has done something that'll make them kind of panic and be like, what am I supposed to do?
That's why she gave the thing it should be fixed.
It should be fixed tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
It was like, you know, it's too, I don't know.
I don't know, little Sierra.
But
Sierra looking
but
a
it's
little
kind of
sketch.
making me think, because we only 17 minutes in, so it's kind of making me think, did Sierra
or her mom
did Sierra or her mom do something, or did Sierra do something? That's why she was so adamant about staying with her dad, because she probably had this, because you know, but
she also said like the dad said, she has a mental disorder.
That's what I was about to say. She has, so does she kind of like in her head, because you know some kids, they blame a parent for being the way that they are, or you did this and this is the reason why our family is not together anymore, or not understanding because they was a little younger. So not understanding that this is what actually happened. It had nothing, like, I still love you.
And the fact that this just happened last year.
Yeah, that's
a year ago.
Yeah.
Scary.
April. Well, the texting and stuff started April.
Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah, that is kind of like, but yeah, like it's making me think that, like, were you so adamant about staying with your dad because you had these thoughts of, like, you blame him, so I want to make sure that he pays for it.
And she had to really get close to him.
Yeah.
So he can fully trust her. But
I mean, of course he trusts her. That's his child.
But the mind of I really gotta build this trust, so I can be able to sneak you. You know what I'm saying?
And so Christine contacted a woman named Peggy Newman, who was Daniel's landlord and a close friend of Daniel. Okay. And she asked Peggy, would you mind going and doing a welfare check at Daniel's house? And Peggy would say, of course, no problem, but I won't be able to get over there for at least several hours. So Christine said, no problem. But as soon as she hung up, Christine just was so anxious, waiting to find out what was going on with her son, that at 1:46 p.m., when still Peggy was out running errands and had not done the welfare check yet, Christine just called the police and asked them to do a welfare check.
Yeah, hi, I need a welfare check. I don't know
on who are we doing a welfare check?
For my son. He's been missing for 2 days. His work's called. His family's called, I've called, his ex-wife's called, and there's nobody answering the phone, and there's nothing. Nobody can get a hold of him, and then his work called, and they can't get a hold of him, and it's really, he just doesn't act like this.
But as it would happen, just a few minutes after Christine placed that 911 call, Peggy Newman and a friend of hers actually arrived at Daniel's residence ahead of the police. And so when they got there, they hopped out of their car, they walked up to the front door, and as they're knocking on the front door, they look over into the driveway and they see Daniel's car, which was a blue Nissan Altima, is not there. And so they're knocking, they're seeing the car's not there, it's totally silent in the house. And so Peggy, she reaches down and she tries the doorknob and she finds it's unlocked. So she twists the knob, she opens the door, and she and her friend step inside. Just minutes later, Peggy and her friend would come running out of the house, and Peggy would call 911 because the police weren't there yet, and she would frantically try to describe to the dispatcher what she had just seen. 24 hours earlier, a man and a woman were spotted on surveillance camera withdrawing cash from several Las Vegas ATMs using Daniel's debit card. Those were the withdrawals that had been flagged as fraudulent and tipped Bogdana off that something could be wrong here. After those withdrawals, the man and the woman were spotted again on camera going into a Las Vegas supermarket called Winco, and inside they would purchase a few items using Daniel's debit card, and then they would leave and they would head to a Las Vegas Vegas Home Depot, where once again they'd be caught on camera purchasing a few items using Daniel's debit card. After these purchases, the man and the woman would make their way to Daniel's residence, where they would spend the night. The following morning, Daniel's blue Nissan Altima car was spotted leaving Las Vegas at around 10:20 in the morning. That was about 3.5 hours before Peggy Newman and her friend went into Daniel's residence and then quickly turned around and ran out and called 911. When police finally did arrive at Daniel's residence on April 9th, and they pulled up and they saw Peggy Newman and her friend totally ashen-faced and pacing on the sidewalk, the police would get out, they would talk to those two, they would go inside of Daniel's residence, and they would see the horrible thing that Peggy and her friend had also seen. But the police could not make sense of what they were seeing. It really just did not add up. Then, 4 days later, on April 13th, police in Salt Lake City, Utah, just happened to find the man and the woman that were seen on camera on April 8th using Daniel's debit card and going to the Winco and the Home Depot. The police, they just happened to find these people on a bus in Salt Lake City. And after going through the man and the woman's belongings, including their phones, the police would discover a video that these two had taken of themselves in the last couple of days that explained what was inside of Daniel's house.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel.
Oh,
Oh
I've
my
seen this.
freaking gosh. This is that situation?
Oh my. Didn't they kill their mom and their dad?
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
I remember this.
I remember this, and it made me so freaking sick to my stomach. Wow. I got chills. I'm like, what the world?
Yo, they literally, because I remember that she literally.
I remember that too.
And this was last year, wasn't it?
This was last year.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. After murdering day 3 after murdering somebody.
Whoa! Don't put that on the camera.
It was worth it.
The young man and the young woman you just saw joking on camera about murdering someone were 18-year-old Aaron Guerrero and his girlfriend, 16-year-old Sierra Halseth, Daniel's youngest daughter. Allegedly, on the morning of April 8th, after Aaron and Sierra had pulled all that money out of all those different ATMs, they had gone to the Winco and purchased disposable gloves and bleach and drop cloths, and they had gone to the Home Depot and purchased a circular saw and saw blades and lighter fluid. And then they headed for Daniel's house. It's not been made public what actually occurred inside of Daniel's residence, but we can make a few assumptions. Daniel adored his children. There was no act there. He truly loved his children. And so it would never cross his mind that one of his children or one of their significant others would ever want to hurt him. And so when Sierra and Aaron went inside of Daniel's house, it would have been extremely easy to sneak up on Daniel or just kind of catch him off guard because he's not looking to put up a fight. He thinks he's around people that love him and respect him because he loves and respects them. But however the young couple did it, they would inflict up to 70 stab wounds in Daniel's body, most of which were in the back of his head. And then at some point during this vicious attack, they stuffed Daniel into a sleeping bag, and right in the middle of the living room of his house, they doused him in lighter fluid and lit him on fire. It's unclear what exactly killed Daniel or for how long he was actually conscious and aware of what was happening before he died, but it's very possible that Daniel had at least a small moment in time where he recognized his beloved little angel, Sierra, was actively trying to kill him. After Daniel was either dead or incapacitated, the young couple tossed their pocket knives into the sink, and then they retrieved their circular saw as well as a chainsaw and began attempting to dismember Daniel's body. But they were unable to do it, and so they just kind of set the saws down in the middle of Daniel's home with bits of Daniel stuck on the grooves of the saw. At that point, Aaron and Sierra attempted to destroy evidence inside of the house by scrubbing everything down with bleach, but it was totally ineffective. And so at that point, the couple decided they would just burn the entire house down, and that would destroy all the evidence. And so around the time that Christine texted Sierra and demanded to speak to Daniel, and Sierra wrote back, "Oh, he's in the shower, he can't talk to you right now," that was probably around the time that Sierra and Aaron were actively trying to burn the house down. But the fire they set was just not very big, and it kind of smoldered out. And so they would just kind of leave all of the evidence all over Daniel's house, and they would leave Daniel's destroyed and burned body kind of propped up against the door leading into the garage. And they would just leave the house, hop in Daniel's blue Nissan Altima, and at around 10:20 in the morning, they would leave Las Vegas. The only...
I feel a little sick, bro.
Wow. I just.
Oh my.
My goodness. And he was so, bruh. I could not freaking imagine. He loved his kids. The way that he, like, oh my goodness, I'm like lost for words. I just could not, I couldn't even like imagine somebody even like doing it. Like, so they found somebody that's like he loved his kids. Went back to court to try to get custody for you.
Though.
To try to get custody.
And he was in the process of getting custody for you, bro.
Like, and he seemed like he has such a good heart.
But it happens a lot.
My
Like, these
goodness,
situations happens a lot.
Such a good heart, a good person, so positive. Like, everything that was thrown at him, he picked himself up and kept going and kept going and kept going. And for y'all to come back, how long would you even plot that?
Probably for a while. That's the reason
You know
why
what I'm
she killed.
saying? And where you find this abort? Like, I have so many, like, that is sick.
And she didn't have like.
That is so sick.
And
No remorse.
And since the
Neither one
since
of
the
y'all.
father said she already previously had mental issues,
Yeah,
she gonna
was
try to
dealing with
plead.
mental.
She gonna try to plead insanity. I really believe. Also, the dude had. I don't know. Let's finish it.
Yeah, let's finish.
And police were able to apprehend Aaron and Sierra in Salt Lake City a few days later was because the couple had made their way to Salt Lake City and hopped on a bus, and Aaron had not paid the fare. He had just snuck onto the bus. And so at some point, the transit authority had come through the bus, and they were asking people to show their tickets, and Aaron didn't have one. And so when they discovered this, they asked for his name, and when they entered his name into their system, it popped up that the Las Vegas PD were actively searching for him. While only Sierra knows why she turned on the one man who would forever love her and would forever support her, what we do know is around the time that Daniel and Elizabeth had gone back to court and they were having those virtual meetings with the judge to decide who was going to have custody over Sierra, Sierra had begun dating Aaron, and she had fallen totally in love with him, and it seemed very much like Aaron had totally fallen in love with her. And somehow Daniel caught wind of the fact that Aaron and Sierra were planning to run away secretly and go move to Los Angeles. And so when Daniel heard this, he told his ex-wife Elizabeth, and then they would go and talk to Aaron's parents, and they would tell them about this plan to run away.
Wow.
And both sets of parents talked and decided it was in both child's best interest if they stopped seeing each other. And so
Even with saying that, I would have, like, knowing the aftermath of it, you should just call the police and file a statutory. You know what I'm saying? He 18, she's 16. She's still a minor. You're an adult now. Hey, you know what I'm saying? To keep you away from my child.
You did this to your father because y'all couldn't run away together and live y'all little, like,
And he
on.
18. He can't provide for you.
Come on.
Like,
Y'all did all of that because of that?
like if come on now.
I could not. My goodness.
Because 10 years, how many years down the line, you're going to regret
That
the fuck
is-
out of this. And you're going to sit there and be like, I did this for a stupid individual.
Because you can't. Whole life.
He finna be locked up for life. You finna be locked up for life. Ain't no more communication, shawty. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my goodness.
it was in both child's best interest if they stopped seeing each other. And so, starting in early 2021, the parents forbade their child from seeing each other, and that was it. But even though all the parents were involved in this decision, because Sierra was at the time living with Daniel, it seemed like she focused her rage about this decision on Daniel because he was the one kind of enforcing the rule. And so it's believed in April of that year, Sierra decided she would just have to kill her father in order to get her boyfriend back. In Daniel's obituary, his family very conspicuously left Sierra out, saying that Daniel was survived by 2 loving children, not 3. His family has also come out and publicly stated that they hope Sierra and her boyfriend are given the harshest penalty allowable by law. Despite the existence of this confession video that Aaron and Sierra took of themselves talking about murdering Daniel, they have pled not guilty and are currently awaiting trial. So that's going to do it. If you got...
Man, you might as well go ahead and cop that plead guilty. Because one thing I had learned, somebody said if you plead guilty, if you at least plead guilty, you have the capability of filing, possibly one day getting parole. No matter how, you know what I'm saying? But she don't need it. She don't need it.
Neither one of them.
Neither one, but she don't. I'm just speaking about the daughter.
Yeah. But wow. He had, it was just no matter how good of a person you are, no matter how big your heart is, it's just he was just always getting screwed over some way, somehow. From the first wife.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Doing her situation.
It was in the daughter DNA to screw her dad
doing that situation.
Look how the wife did, the first wife did him. Then the
daughter. That was cruel in itself to even do something like that, especially it never happened.
And ain't no telling what she was saying about the father all these years. And like I always say, no matter what type of, especially if the 2 parents are not together, stop bad mouthing the other parent. I'm just saying because we don't know. No. We don't know if there was also fuel to the fire.
Yeah, we don't know.
But sometimes that brings up hatred towards the child because we don't know if she had no matter how much love he's showing them, the mom could have been back.
I mean, but it makes me now, since I got all the information, it's kind of she wanted to be with her father because it said that they started dating shortly after the second time he went to court to try to get custody. They somehow
y'all weren't even dating that long.
They weren't even dating that long. Somehow met or whatever the case may be.
Where the fuck y'all meet? He 18. Is he still in school?
I don't know, but they somehow met and she felt whatever. She felt, for him quickly. It was kind of that they saw. So I'm not gonna say beforehand if it was an issue. I'm not gonna say that. It seemed like she really did want to be with her daddy, but then again, I don't know what she was.
Who came up with this plot? Because it can't just.
I come to the conclusion now of just any situation. It's kind of whoever came up with it sick, but it's even sicker for you to even follow through with it.
Yeah.
You know
I'm just asking, I wonder which one of them actually came up with the idea. But like you said, both of them sick to even go through with this situation. But also,
all the torture, you stabbed him in the back of his head 70
times. The majority of the stabbing was in the head.
You tried to light him on fire. You tried to
saw him.
Down. That didn't work. The fire didn't work. You try. Let's just burn the whole house down.
And I remember that video.
Why he sitting here? Whatever. Y'all cleaning up with bleach. It was a lot going on in this time. Not once in your head it click. I'm doing this to my dad. You know what I'm saying? I really be wanting to pick people's brain. What caused you to? I don't know. Rest in peace to Daniel.
Because this Inside Edition
so
one
sad.
does title "Teen Couple Allegedly Kills Girlfriend Dad for This." Because he is the one who initially brought up the fact that they it was a problem with them 2 dating.
Yeah.
Because he brought it attention to the mom.
It wasn't even the fact that they was dating. It was the fact that they planned to run away and move to Los Angeles.
I'm saying it was the problem with them dating. But because he's the one who
brought it to everyone's attention that they planned to run away.
They had the most hatred for him.
Yeah, then if it wasn't for you, no one would have known that we had this, plan to do this or whatever the case may be. Or wow, and it just blows my mind because I remember seeing this video, never knew what it was about, the backstory. We just seen that, and I was like, y'all joking about this? And, like, in my head, I was like, I hope y'all are not, like, serious. Like, I hope this is not serious. And I never, like, followed back up on it or seen, like, what it was about. Or, you know, it was just, like, we seen it. And it was just kind of, like, I don't know.
Because I sure remember that video last year.
I remember. And I was like, y'all are really, like, cool with, like, because I remember him, like, welcome back to our, like, that is so crazy.
That video I most definitely remember. And when we saw it, we was like, what the fuck?
Yes, when we initially seen it the first time,
and that's the reason why our reaction was what it was when we saw it.
I was like, y'all are sick to even be, like, sitting here thinking that this is funny. Whatever y'all done did. And I was like, I hope y'all are joking. Like, I was like, I hope this is a joke.
You did say that.
I was like, I hope they're joking. Like, I hope, like, who would joke like that? I was like, but it cannot be real. And I was like, are y'all really putting this out there for people?
And then...
That is so sick, man. Rest in peace to him. I just can't. Because he's sick, like he, like, just so positive. Like, every obstacle that was thrown at him, he just picked it, step back up, and found the positive. Like, one of them optimistic people, I'm going to find a good in any situation. I'm going to find something that's good that I can keep carrying on. Bro, and then this happens to the person that loved you and that you're supposed to love back.
Because how many kids? Like, I know he had 3 kids, but was she the only girl? I can't remember.
Oh, it was on the. You can go back to, like, the obituary.
No.
2 girls. It was 2 girls and a boy. I remember the picture.
Because I thought it was 2 boys and a girl. That's what I was.
It probably would be, like, right in the beginning when they showed the little family photo. Well, it'd probably be.
I ain't gonna find it.
A little bit. Let me see.
I ain't gonna find it.
I think it was 2 girls and a boy. But if you go to where it go? There go the photo.
Yeah, okay. It was 2 girls and a boy.
Yeah.
But she's the youngest.
Yeah, she's the youngest. Yeah.
But I cannot believe. And then, like,
wow.
To get fucked over by your first wife, because you totally got the Elizabeth. She totally fucked him up.
Yeah, that was
because he confronted you about the thing, and the reason why you said.
Because your whole plan was like with situations like that. I don't know if people like.
And is that the reason why you kind of went? So y'all had to meet on your campaign, but you weren't even focused on family when you met this man. So your whole, like most politicians, your whole campaign was a lie.
Yeah, it
was. You said whatever to get in office.
Yeah,
like majority of them. And
then, that's so sad, man.
You know this man been raising your kids strongly.
Raising y'all kids, taking care of y'all kids while he was so supportive of you. The fact that he was like, yeah, taking care of the kids all day, and then I'm going to put my stuff on the back end and do this.
But the problem is, like, a majority of it happened, she stayed away too much.
Oh, my goodness.
She didn't make time for her family. She focused too much on her campaign. Dude is another politician. He can be with you. He can manipulate your. It ain't even supposed to be focused on her.
No, it's not. So that's why I want to like just.
But the mindset of a daughter to be able, mindset of a child to even want to kill their parent. I don't care if it's
not that mindset of anybody, but yeah, definitely.
This happens too much. Yeah. It happens a lot. A lot of
and
kids.
when you understand what it's for and the reason, I'd be like, what the?
Where were y'all going?
I'd be like,
y'all didn't even have money to even travel because he couldn't even afford the bus ticket.
They had dad's money.
They spent all that trying to get
that was so
equipment to hide the situation.
And that was so crazy to me. And good thing, I look at it like this, good thing that the stuff was still set up for the second wife to get notifications, because no one would ever had even known. Well, you know.
Well, the mom would eventually. The mom would have eventually.
What mom?
Daniel's mom would have eventually been like, I haven't talked to my son.
Well, yeah, eventually, but I'm saying to alert it that quick. Yeah, to like.
They would have got away probably a little further.
Yeah, a longer. Yeah, would have been prolonged. He would have just been like in the house.
But they still would have eventually got caught.
Yeah, they would have eventually got caught, and good thing they did at the time. Oh my goodness.
They both deserve life. Never see the day of light.
That is so messed up.
It's too. Yeah. But one thing I was gonna say, it's too too many times these type of situations, even though if it don't lead up to death, too many of these type of situations that occur where a girl and a younger girl end up dating a guy, fall madly too fast for the guy. Yo, you 16. 9 times out of 10, this dude you meet at 16, you're not gonna be with.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be with him forever. It's the moment. It's the introduction to love that you gonna think you feel. But learn to push on, because a lot of that stuff, no matter what sweet talks he's telling you, financially he couldn't even pay for a bus first. So he financially couldn't even take care of you if y'all ran away to LA. You was gonna be bumming it out anyways, even if y'all did run out, and you was gonna come back to mama and daddy at the end of the fucking day. Learn to quit allowing these little young suckers to fill y'all heads up with these false hopes and memories and dreams, and they can't even provide not a single dime for you.
Yeah.
Like,
but again,
she another one that we need to get into 5 minutes. Judge kind of get 5 minutes with her.
I like to, yeah.
Like last week, Judge kind of get 5 minutes with her.
But yeah. But again, though, rest in peace to Daniel. Like, this whole situation so effed up.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate this. Yeah. I hate it for his kids.
I hate it for
his mom, because his mom lost her husband
kids.
And now her son. So I hate it for the mom, Daniel's mom.
Yeah,
I hate it, and I hate it for the kids, because y'all lost a sister and y'all lost a father.
Yeah, even though y'all still she's.
Because y'all you don't know how they're gonna deal with this
that
situation after the fact. So. My heart go out to everybody that's fully touched that was fully touched by Daniel, because they are the ones who have to really learn, because it's a year ago. They really have to learn how to heal from this situation. It's still fresh.
Dang.
Oh man, with that being said, man, y'all spend much though. Let us know y'all thoughts and opinions down below. But as always, y'all know how it go. I do go by the name DJ Nikki. This is
Go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my folks. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my